Hi there. Balance in life is something that's talked about quite a lot. A lot of people hear the notion and then they think to themselves, well, that's something that I'd like to have and should think about balance in my life. And I'm not entirely sure that everybody's getting as much out of the notion of balance as they can, partly because I think there's a bit more of a better notion that we could work with to make better use of. So in this episode today, I'm going to delve a bit deeper into balance and compare it with awareness and also with integration, and share a few insights to hopefully give you a better basis for applying and approaching the term so that we can all have lives that work a bit better. So the first thing to consider is that balance is essentially a physical, mechanical world concept that we're bringing into the psychological world of quality of life. And if you might remember, you might have seen last week I did a video on stress, and that worked very well because stress in the mechanical world is where a second force acts on an object to create a point of stress. So I gave the explanation of a ruler like this. So if you have a ruler like that and I bring my hand down and it flips around, there's no stress. But if a second force, if there's a first force, let's say, because I'm holding it in place, and then I bring my hand down, and then you have a point of stress there. Okay, so what I explained last week was that you can transfer the physical idea of stress into the psychological world by recognizing that stress happens when a second force acts on us emotionally and psychologically, and that second force is self-judgment. So that's how we move a physical world concept into the psychological. And with the case of balance, though, it doesn't quite work as well. It doesn't get us as far. So in the physical world, of course, balance is, let's say, let's use this as a scale. You have a 6 kilogram weight on here, and you have a couple of 3 kilogram weights on here. And as long as they're the same position away from the center, then they're going to balance. That's, you sit on a seesaw. We all know what balance is. So how does that then apply to balance in life when people think, okay, well, I need to get some balance in life? How are you applying that? The most obvious that I can see people doing is work-life balance, and more particularly the number of hours. So you have people thinking, well, this is probably too many hours to be working. I need to get a bit of work-life balance and bring that in a bit, curb that and bring it in. What we don't seem to see so much is going the other way. So people thinking that they're not doing enough work. Most people are thinking they're doing too much work and need to get some work-life balance in. So only really the concept of life balance in our society only seems to me to be going as far as thinking that we might be working too much and we need to get some balance back in. But even then, the concept of balance, you're still working with something that's quite arbitrary. So let's say we probably think we should be working for 8 hours, playing for 8 hours, and sleeping for 8 hours. If only our lives were so simple. So if that's our notion of what balance is, then if we sort of find ourselves working 10 or 12 hours, we might think, okay, well, that's too much. I need to restore some balance. But that's quite, what's the word? It's quite limited. It's not a very sophisticated way of thinking. I mean, it's a good start. That's what I think about balance. But then I want to compare that to awareness and integration. So first of all, let's compare balance to awareness. And before we do that, we need to understand the nature of awareness. We need to compare awareness to beliefs. So a belief can be trumped by awareness. A belief is very potentially limiting. So one of the examples I give in my wisdom course is of sayings, famous quotations and sayings that are supposed to be wise proverbs, but actually you can start to group them together into pairs. So for example, the notion of don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's like saying, okay, well, we need to diversify and we need to focus on more than one thing at a time. And there's another saying, which is also quite popular, Chinese, I think it's a Chinese proverb, he who chases two rabbits catches neither. So you think, oh yeah, that's very wise as well. Yeah. So we need to not try and fragment or divide our attention. We focus on one thing. Now, both of those things sound quite wise in themselves, and then when you compare them, you realize that they say completely opposite things. So in order to make use of those sayings, we need to use our awareness and trust our inner knowing, our instincts, our intuition. Another example I give is, let's say you go to the same holiday destination every year, and you start to realize that the North Island is safe and the South Island is unsafe. And so you get that belief system in place. Well, that also can shut down your awareness. If you all of a sudden you go back one year and things are changing, and you've got a belief that this place is safe, you might shut out your awareness to all the signals that you're getting, all the feedback from the environment, that actually that's not the case. So this is why in Kissing Consciousness and Conscious Living generally, awareness trumps beliefs. Beliefs are just perceptions that we have about reality that may or may not be correct, and they also tend to have a certain inflexibility to them. So we want to hold beliefs very lightly rather than hold them rigidly in place. So I hope that gives you an idea of the sort of the superiority, if you like, of awareness. Now that we understand awareness versus beliefs, now we can consider awareness versus balance. Okay? So you might think, okay, well, I've got to, so what are your beliefs about balance? So it's awareness versus your beliefs about balance. So you might think something like, okay, well, doing 9 hours a day is too much, it's not balance, or something like that. Or staying up past a certain hour is not balance. So you're letting the belief system decide what choices you're going to make in life. Now actually, this can actually be a form of abdicating responsibility, because you pass the responsibility for your judgment and your discernment and your awareness to the belief system. And the downside of that is that you can be shutting out awareness. So your awareness in a moment might transcend the belief about what balance is supposed to be. So you might think, well, okay, I've been working for 10 hours, but actually your awareness might say to carry on. My awareness in some circumstances might be to work day after day after day and push it. But if it's flowing, if you're at one with yourself, you're in that state of love consciousness rather than fear consciousness, then that can actually work for you, because again, you're coming from your awareness. So as awareness trumps belief systems, awareness also trumps any beliefs that we have about balance. So then we're into an entirely different world where we're flowing with our own wisdom, and we can then take a deeper, more informed, holistic approach to what we actually sense to be balance, rather than just having a few rules in the back of our head as some belief systems. So the next thing I'd invite you to consider is the difference between balance and integration. So balance says we need to make sure that this balances with that, whereas integration is much more about how things intertwine. It's kind of like the wheels, like cogwheels, those cogwheels. So you're making sure with integration that everything works as a seamless whole. With balance, that you don't necessarily have that. You've just got this side of the seesaw weighs the same as this side of the seesaw, and everything's kind of upright. That doesn't necessarily bring a life the same kind of quality as integration does, where you've got 4, 5 parts of your lives, whatever it is, that are working well together in the way they interact with each other, rather than just being separate entities that you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll do a bit of work now, and then I'll do a bit of life now, a bit of work-life balance, right? Integration brings the possibility for the two to have some intertwined quality, where you're looking at everything as a whole. Now, in particular, what I'd like to invite you to consider is something that we have in integral philosophy. Ken Wilber's Aquil theory offers the 4 quadrants. So your life essentially has 4 profound dimensions. I won't go into too much of the whys, but essentially you have the perspectives of I, yourself, from the within. So you're thinking of I. We, so that's if you and me were doing something together, we'd be a we. and then you've got it out there, and it's plural out there. So it might be your body, but its plural is all the stuff out there is the whole world. So they're your four profound dimensions of your life. So if we think of those four, we call them four quadrants. So there's the individual interior, which is your inner world, your mind, your thoughts, feelings. There's the individual exterior, which is your body, your physical body and your physical health. And then there's your the we is essentially relationships. That's the collective interior, the collective individual. The collective intangible. So it's something you can't touch, but it's something that's real. And then you've got the collective exterior, the collective out there, human society. And in life coaching terms, what that really relates to is prosperity. What do you do with your creative potential to achieve prosperity? So if we take the integration one step, then the notion of integration one step further, we can think of it in terms of how we're integrating these four profound dimensions of our lives. Let's call them our minds and our inner worlds, our body, our relationships, and our prosperity. So you now have all four of those things that are working, hopefully, as an integrated whole. And so rather than just having balance, you might be thinking, well, what's the point of doing something on this part and then doing something on this part of my life and then doing something on this part of my life? If they're all important to you, you don't want to be doing something on your work that's going to be compromising your health. And if you get so much stress that you give yourself an ulcer, then that one part is going to be taking away from another part. It might also be taking away from your relationships and your family life if you're allowing your work and your career, your vocation to overrun and take you away from the family that in theory that you're creating all this wealth for. And then so that's three things. And then you've got your fourth, you've got your inner world, your mind and your thoughts and your emotions and all that kind of stuff as well. So all of these things interact with each other. Your relationships can support your career, your relationships can support your inner world of your thoughts and your emotions, and also that of they can support your physical body and your health, and vice versa. Your physical health can support your relationships because it gives you more energy to put into them. Same with your work, and of course same with the mind. So all these four aspects are permanently intertwining, and so we've got a great improvement now. We've gone from balance to a whole world of integration and thinking about how to keep things working as a whole. And so then we can bring back awareness, and we say, well, how does awareness work with integration? Well, awareness always trumps anything. So integration is a great idea. And then rather than having too many beliefs locking in place, you can again bring your awareness back in to how do we integrate all the aspects of our lives. So again, you're coming back down to your intuition, your instinct, your trusting your knowing, trusting your wisdom, and you're not letting any beliefs or getting into your head about what either balance or integration might mean. And so you're allowing yourself the fullness of your own awareness. So in addition to that, I hope that was really helpful. In addition, what I'd like to offer you is something that I created yesterday, which is I think is going to be profoundly helpful, particularly for this as it relates to integration. And these are the top 10 life skills for an awesome, amazing life, which I've created. And the reason I particularly think this is going to be relevant if you're interested in this concept of balance and life integration is that I've devised this top 10 to be 2 each from those four aspects of life that I mentioned. So I've got 2, the most useful life skills that you can have for your inner world of thoughts, emotions and feelings. Then you've got the 2 most useful life skills that you can use for your health and your physical body, 2 more life skills for your relationships, 2 more for your creative prosperity, and then the final 2 which are universal to all those. And this is something that I've been creating, having considered the nature of personal consciousness for about 44 years, something like that, 20 years of studying body of wisdom, about 15 of studying conscious relationships, and a few other things as well. So what I've done after best part of half a century of observing life success is to pick what I think are the 10 most useful life skills that you can have to create an utterly wonderful life. So if you'd like to get that special report free with my compliments, you can get that at kissingconsciousness.com/top 10. The link will be there in the description below. You can just pick up that report. And so great, thanks for watching. I really hope you've found this useful, and you can take the notion of balance in life on to be a very relaxed but informed, wisdom-driven, awareness-driven sense of how to use your best intelligence to allow each area of your life to complement the others, and just get an instinctive sense of when to pause on one and perhaps pick up on something else. So good luck with that. Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers. See you again.